welcome back to another episode of Beaver Longface is really busy with Master Quest and other IRL commitments, so he has to do a D.L.C video because they're easier to make. Sorry. So, if you're wondering and couldn't tell by the title and thumbnail, today we'll be beating the entire Cuphead D.L.C without dashing. On paper, this sounds like an easy challenge, but it honestly isn't. Like I said in my previous D.L.C video, the D.L.C is built around using Miss Chalice on each of the bosses, but Miss Chalice can't parry without dashing, so instead of her, I ended up using the coffee charm for most of this run, and it really changed the way that I played these bosses. Not having Chalice actually made it a lot more difficult, so enough of the intro, let's just get into it. Glumstone Giant is our first stop, and he opens up with his Cauldron attack. This attack is one of the main reasons I didn't use Chalice for this challenge, because I wanted to be able to parry the Poison Clouds to build up a super. The first phase goes down with ease, relying entirely on the roundabout shot to deal all of our damage, with a super thrown in at the end just to finish him off. Then, we enter the only actual difficult part of this fight. Glumstone's second phase features two hand puppets that pass a ball back and forth to each other, which we need to avoid, as well as having little jumping bugs coming up from beneath the ground to try and throw us off even more. This phase can already be considered hard, but not being able to dash really threw off how I played the game. Eventually, thanks to the crack shot, we were able to make it to his final phase, but only on 1 HP. And the final phase is normally extremely easy. The way the phase works is that the head on the top of the screen goes left and right, throwing meat to each of the bone platforms beneath us. After one of the platforms catches meat, they disappear and I can't use it anymore. Eventually, he'll throw a bone to one of the platforms, and once they eat it, it turns into a parryable bell, and once I parry it, it'll resummon all the platforms. This is made very difficult when you can't dash. Any long gaps between the platforms will cause you to lose HP trying to make it over. And when you're on 1 HP, I can't really afford to lose anything. We even got to a point where I had to waste a super just to keep enough air to be able to make it to the parryable platform, but we do take him down first try and move on to Mortimer. Mortimer wasn't that hard, provided I didn't take stupid damage at the start, which happened a few times. The strategy consists of using the crack shot to deal constant damage to Mortimer while I avoided his various attacks. The only one I really need to look out for was the Whale Slam. The Whale Slam attack is meant to only be dashed out of the way of whenever he uses it on you, but I obviously can't dash because it would defeat the purpose of the challenge. If we could avoid that attack, everything else was pretty easy until we got to the second phase. The Snowman's quick movements forced me to be perfect with my timing, see as I can't dash over him. But the real difficult attack was the sword attack. This attack was impossible to just jump over without a dash. That is, unless you use an EX move at the perfect time to air stall a little bit longer to make it over the sword and avoid getting hit, which is what we did. Besides that, we got to the final phase without too much trouble, and it's honestly not that hard. The only attack we really had to look out for was the eye attack, but it only hit us once. The rest of them were pretty easy to dodge without dashing, so we took him out. Howling Aces was next, and this was really no issue. You don't even need to dash on this boss in the first place, so all I had to do was use the crack shot and avoid all the silly attacks. I wish I could say more about this fight, but there's genuinely nothing to say about it. We take out first phase with the crack shot, switch to the roundabout for the second phase, go back to crack shot for third, and try to get a super off while avoiding the lasers. A pretty normal boss fight even without dashing. The only time I found it slightly annoying was when I had to parry the lasers instead of dashing to air style over them. Angel and the Devil comes next, and for some reason I had Genie Wishes enabled, and I couldn't figure out how to turn them off. I tried leaving the stage, leaving the game, I tried it all, they just wouldn't go away. So the rule I followed was, as long as I don't take 3 hits, I'm okay. So as long as I'm on 4 HP or more, when I defeat the boss, it's the same as doing the boss without wishes. I used the regular strat of sitting on the left with the crack shot and turning around every now and then when the firewall came up. It honestly took a couple of attempts because I'm not very good at this boss, but we do get through it. Our second to last boss today is the Moonshine Mob, and to be honest with you guys, I have been disliking this boss more and more every single time I play it. It's kind of just boring to me. In the first phase, I alternate platforms using the crack shot to always hit the boss. The second phase, I stay on the middle platform with roundabout until they use the lasers, where I switch to the crack shot and run around to avoid their laser. The third phase was the only difficult part, just because of the nose being so random and when it shoots out its tongue. I used the crack shot and let it handle the boss until we killed the snail and got to move on to our final boss. Chef Saltbaker was surprisingly difficult. I knew this challenge wouldn't be overly easy, but I didn't expect it to be this hard. But Saltbaker actually gave me quite the roadblock for a little bit. Avoiding his numerous bullet hell attacks was really challenging for me, not including the 2 fireballs on the top of the screen, which would keep on jumping down to mess me up even more. Like most other attempts at this boss, I trusted the crack shot to fully carry me to the second phase, with some supers mixed in as well, even if they didn't always work out. His second phase surprisingly wasn't easier than the first. With the constant spam from each of the pepper shakers, I found it really hard to avoid everything without being able to dash, and died a few times on this phase. In the third phase, I was only really worried about him hitting me when he falls into the phase, because I wouldn't be able to dash out of the way, but luckily he didn't, to bring him to the final phase, where we just used the crack shot to deal damage. Another super cool thing I did was in the final phase, I ran out of platform, so I had to waste one of my supers to go into a parry to jump onto a new platform and narrowly escape without getting hit. I actually thought it was pretty cool, so I hope that you guys do too. Anyway, with the crack shot carrying us once more, we defeat Saltbaker and finish our challenge. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm sorry that this video feels shorter and rushed. Master Quest is taking a lot of time, and with school exams and everything else, it's been really hard to make videos the last few weeks, but they should resume to their normal quality, and hopefully we play more of the regular game of Cuphead. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you soon. Thanks.